Welcome to the Woodward Shoutouts Deep Dive podcast, where we dive deeper into the stories that shape our town and its history. Today's episode is based on the article, The Fire That Changed Everything, The Forgotten Blaze of 36. We'll travel back to 1936 in Woodward, a year of hidden flames, whispered legends, and a community pushed to the brink of transformation. Join us as we explore the fires, the fallout, and how the town rose from the ashes. Okay, let's unpack this. We're setting our time machine for 1936 Woodward, Oklahoma. And, when you first see that title, The Fire That Changed Everything, you immediately think, okay, some huge disaster, right?
It's a big single event, a trauma.
Exactly, something that just defined the whole decade for the town. But our mission today really is to figure out what actually happened that year, what the blaze really was, and why it ended up shaping Woodward's destiny so much.
And that expectation is what makes this article, so interesting. Because the first thing you discover, and it's pretty crucial, is this paradox.
What paradox?
Yeah. The source itself confirms it. Despite that really dramatic title, The Forgotten Blaze of 36, there's actually no official record of one single catastrophic fire destroying the town or anything like that in 1936.
Wow. Okay, that completely changes things, doesn't it?
It really does.
So if there wasn't one giant fire, then what was so overwhelming? What was the actual crisis that Woodward faced that, later kind of got remembered or maybe even symbolized as a fire?
Well, the crisis was systemic. It was relentless. And you could argue it was actually much worse in the long run than a single fire might have been. We're talking about the absolute peak of the Dust Bowl era.
Right. The dirty 30s.
Exactly. Woodward wasn't just having a tough year. It was basically under siege, extreme drought, relentless dust storms. Historians sometimes call it the brown hell. It just permeated everything.
I think we need to pause on that for a second. The feeling of it. Because it wasn't just windy, was it? It was grit. Topsoil blowing away.
Oh, absolutely. Darkening the sky for days, static electricity in the air. It wasn't just an inconvenience. It was an environmental catastrophe happening in slow motion.
So what do the records tell us about the daily grind, the impact of living through that?
They tell us it was economic strangulation, first and foremost. Agriculture, which was Woodward's lifeblood, was devastated. Crop failures year after year.
Kind of wipeouts.
Near total, yeah. But beyond the farming, just living was incredibly hard. The dust got into everything, homes, stores, engines, lungs. People were constantly fighting just to, seal their houses, keep machines running, breathe clean air. It felt like this endless battle against nature itself.
So the fire wasn't literal flames, but maybe the slow burn of hardship, the friction of poverty and environmental collapse.
That's a really good way to put it. The slow, destructive burn of despair. So if you connect that reality back to the article's title, The Forgotten Blaze of 36 starts to make sense symbolically. It represents this period of profound, difficult transformation. The trial stripped everything down like a fire would, forcing the community to rebuild, to be reborn in a way.
The memory of that collective struggle was just so intense, it needed a powerful metaphor, like a fire.
The source definitely suggests that, yeah. It was sort of codified later as this single blaze.
But, okay, let's bring it back down to the practical level. Even if the big fire was symbolic, those conditions, dry, dusty, everything made of wood probably.
Exactly.
That must have made the risk of actual fires terrifyingly high, right? Did the sources mention smaller fires happening?
They absolutely did. You hit on a key point. The environment dictates the risk. And you had this perfect storm, really intense drought, lots of dry wooden buildings, maybe people doing makeshift repairs.
Because money was tight.
Right. So while no single major citywide fire is on record, the sources confirm that smaller fires did happen fairly often. Homes, barns, maybe small businesses downtown, little flare-ups.
So it wasn't the shock of one big event, but maybe this constant low-level dread. Like any small spark could get out of control, especially with probably limited firefighting resources back then.
Precisely. The volunteer fire department would have been stretched thin, and the community knew it. The reaction to these smaller, cumulative incidents was very pragmatic.
Okay, how so? What do they do?
Well, this is where you see the lessons of 36 starting to take shape. These smaller fires, plus the constant high-risk environment, really pushed fire safety awareness way up the priority list. It wasn't just theory anymore. It was daily survival.
And what were the tangible results of that increased awareness? Did it change how they built things?
Yes, significantly. The sources show these smaller fires spurred local efforts to build more fire-resistant structures. People recognized how vulnerable their wood frame buildings were in that dry, dusty climate.
So they started prioritizing stronger materials. brick, stone.
Brick, stone, concrete, yeah, wherever they could afford it. It was a fundamental shift in construction standards.
Even though that probably cost more up front.
Right.
Which must have been tough during the Depression.
It was tough, but they saw it as an investment. They were literally hardening the town against future problems, whether that was another fire or the constant wear and tear of the dust storms.
They sort of internalized the risk.
Yeah.
Losing your home or your store to a small, preventable fire was just ruinous.
Exactly. Building strong meant building to last. It was a direct response to that pressure cooker environment they were living in.
Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Because despite all this, the economic disaster, the dust, the constant struggle, Woodward didn't just, patch things up. They took on a massive project.
They did. They chose optimism, or maybe permanence is a better word.
Right.
Amidst all that hardship, the biggest symbol of Woodward's resilience started to go up, the Woodward County Courthouse. Construction began in 1936.
The courthouse we still have today.
That's the one. And it wasn't just a functional building, it was a statement. A big, solid statement about the town's future.
And crucially, they didn't do it alone, did they? Which kind of speaks to needing help during those really deep crises.
Correct. The courthouse project got major support from the Works Progress Administration, the WPA.
Ah, the New Deal.
Yep. One of Roosevelt's big programs to get people working again on public projects. The WPA didn't just fund it, they provided the jobs.
Which gives that courthouse project this profound double meaning, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
On one side, you've got the physical building itself. Huge, fire-resistant concrete and stone. A symbol of stability, literally standing against the dust storms.
And on the other side, you have the immediate human impact. The WPA support meant real jobs. Dignified work when the farms weren't producing anything.
Not just make-work stuff either, right? Skilled construction jobs.
Yeah. Skilled jobs, paying wages, right there in town. It helped keep families afloat when the agricultural economy had just collapsed. The WPA essentially paid people to build their own town's future.
Wow. That must have been such a psychological boost, to be building something solid, something permanent that you knew would outlast the dust and the hard times.
Definitely. It wasn't just about a paycheck. It was about investing in something tangible, proving Woodward wasn't going to just blow away.
It anchored the town. Physically and maybe emotionally, too.
It really did. It secured livelihoods right then, and it gave the town this permanent anchor. The courthouse wasn't just fire-resistant. You could say it was crisis-resistant. It became the monument to overcoming that symbolic fire of 36.
So how did all that, the hardship the WPA helped, the small fires, building the courthouse, how did that get woven into the local memory, the folklore mentioned in the source? How do you turn years of misery into a story of heroism?
Well, collective memory is interesting, isn't it? It tends to synthesize things. It focuses on the triumph, not just the struggle. So the memory isn't really centered on the daily grind of the dust or the constant fear. It focuses on the response. The community pulling together, the boost from the government programs, neighbors helping neighbors.
The volunteer firefighters.
The firefighters' heroism, yeah. And that collective determination to rebuild, but rebuild better, stronger.
So the forgotten blaze becomes the shorthand for everything they overcame together. It's a story about resilience baked into the town's identity.
Exactly. Systemic resilience, not just surviving one big tragedy.
Okay, so what does this all mean for Woodward today? If we fast forward, how does that legacy of resilience, of building strong infrastructure, sometimes with outside help, how does that show up now?
Well, it seems like those lessons learned back in 36 are still relevant. The idea that you have to protect and upgrade your foundational infrastructure, and that sometimes major progress requires looking for external funding or partnerships, that's still happening.
The town is still focused on making itself more robust, basically.
It looks that way. The source material gives some really concrete examples from 2024.
Right, like the big investment in water utilities.
Exactly. The city got an $11.34 million loan from the Oklahoma Water Resources Board. Think about the Dust Bowl environmental conditions threatened the town's very existence.
So securing water is fundamental.
It's about ensuring those basic systems needed for health and future growth are solid. It's hardening the system, just like building fire-resistant walls was back then.
And if the courthouse stabilized the community structure in the 30s, what about stabilizing the economy now?
Well, look at the airport project. 2024 also saw the groundbreaking for a new terminal at West Woodward Airport.
Okay.
That's not just a cosmetic upgrade. It's about boosting Woodward's role as a regional hub for business and transport. It's investing in future economic function.
It shows that same kind of forward-looking optimism, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like building the courthouse in the middle of the Depression.
It really does. Building permanence again, just for the 21st century.
So the central theme holds up. The forgotten blaze of 36, whether literal or symbolic, reflects the trials the town faced, but more importantly, the unwavering spirit of the people.
And that spirit shows up in how they approach the future, securing long-term stability through these critical strategic investments, and often using partnerships to get it done, just like with the WPA almost a century ago.
It's that lesson, isn't it? Crisis doesn't have to define you. Your response to it does.
Yeah. They learn to build strong, rely on each other, and look for smart ways to secure resources. And it seems like those lessons are still guiding Woodward's planning today.
So what does it mean for a town when the fires are forgotten but the impact remains? I guess it means the hardship didn't break them, it actually refined them.
Yeah, it forged a foundation, maybe, built on determination and, well, solid stone in the case of the courthouse.
It shows that the real legacy isn't always the dramatic event itself, but the lasting changes, the better buildings, the stronger infrastructure that come out of navigating that struggle.
Exactly.
And how did the challenges of 1936 become the foundation for a stronger Woodward? By forcing them to act. Right. Both immediately building safer structures and for the long term, like that big symbolic courthouse project, teaching the town to invest in itself. Next time you walk past the courthouse or a dust-ragged building downtown, you might ask, what story from long ago helped rebuild this place? Thank you for listening to the Woodward Shoutouts Deep Dive Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to keep discovering the stories that shaped our hometown, be sure to subscribe at woodwardshoutouts.com. We bring you local stories each week, the ones you won't find anywhere else. Join us and stay connected with Woodward's past, present, and future.